Hey everyone, and welcome back to the old Charles. Ever since I started collecting, there's one coin that seems to be in every junk silver bin, every inherited collection, and every old coin jar in America. It's the Kennedy half dollar, and most of the time, we just gloss right over them. They're not silver, they're super common, and we think we know everything about them. But what if I told you that a regular-looking 1974 Kennedy half dollar, the one you've probably held a dozen times, could be worth not 50 cents, not $5, but over $14,000, that's right. In today's deep dive, we're cracking the case on the 1974 Kennedy half. We're going to look at the common coins, the rare varieties, the key dates you must know, and the incredible error that makes this one of the most slept-on modern coins in your pocket change. Stick around, because by the end of this video, you'll be sprinting to your coin jars to check your 1974s. First, let's set the stage. 1974 was a weird time for the US Mint. The country was in a coin shortage, and the public was hoarding the old 90% silver coins. The Kennedy half dollar, first minted in 1964 in 90% silver, had already been reduced to a 40% silver, clad, version from 1965 to 1970. By 1971, to save even more money, the mint removed the silver entirely, making the Kennedy half dollar we know today. An outer layer of 75% copper and 25% nickel bonded to a core of pure copper. So, the standard 1974 Kennedy half is a clad coin with no silver content because of this, and because the mint produced over 200 million of them across Philadelphia, no mint mark, Denver, D, and San Francisco, S, they are incredibly common. If you have a worn, regular 1974 half dollar, it's worth, well, 50 cents, but we're not here for the regular ones. We're here for the exceptions. Now, this is where it gets interesting for collectors. In 1974, the San Francisco Mint was not producing coins for general circulation. Its job was to make pristine, mirror-like proof coins for collectors. These were sold in sets directly from the mint. A 1974 S-proof half dollar, in its original packaging, is a beautiful coin. In perfect condition, a single proof coin is worth around $5 to $8. A full proof set from 1974, with all the denominations, can be worth about $12 to $15. Nice, but not life-changing. However, there's a twist. A very small number of these 1974 S-proof coins were struck on a special, experimental alloy that the mint was testing. These are known as the 1974 S silver-proof coins. They are not 90% silver, but a different composition. They are incredibly rare and are usually only identified through professional certification by companies like PCGS or NGC. If you have a 1974 S-proof that looks a little different or weighs oddly, it might be one of these experimental pieces, and it could be worth a significant premium. But for most of us, the regular 1974 S-proof is a common, but beautiful, collectible, alright. Grab your magnifying glasses, because this is the big one. The reason we're all talking about the 1974 half dollar. In the world of coin errors, the double die obverse is king. This happens when the hub, the master tool that imparts the design onto a working die, shifts slightly between impressions, creating a doubling effect on the die itself. Every coin struck from that faulty die then shows the same, prominent doubling, and in 1974, the Denver Mint created one of the most famous and valuable double dies in modern U.S. coinage. Look at the inscriptions. On a normal coin, the letters, "In God We Trust," are sharp and singular. On the double die, you can clearly see a second, shadowy image to the south and west of the primary letters. This is especially obvious on the words, "In God." It's not a strike doubling or machine doubling, which is weak and flat. This is real, hub doubling, and it's dramatic, but the most famous, the most telltale sign, is on the date. Look at the number, 1974. On the double die, you can see clear doubling on the 7 and the 4. It looks blurry, like a ghost image. This coin is a legend. It was discovered early by sharp-eyed collectors, but it remains exceptionally rare. The mint estimated that only a few thousand may have escaped before the error was caught. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Hold on. Look at this, see that? Look at the G in God. There's a whole second G sitting right there. And look at the date. The 7 is blurred. This is it. This is a 1974 D double diop verse. Now, this one is circulated, it's probably in the very fine range. So we're not looking at a $14,000 coin, but this is still a $300 to $500 coin all day long. Found in a simple roll of half dollars I bought from the bank. That if you think you found one, do not get excited and clean it. Cleaning a coin destroys its value. Handle it by the edges and put it in a protective holder immediately. Your next step should be to compare it to high-resolution images online from PCGS or NGC. If you're still convinced, the best move is to submit it to one of these top-tier grading services for authentication and grading. The cost is worth it for a coin of this potential value. So, there you have it. The humble 1974 Kennedy half dollar. From a 50-cent piece to a 5-figure treasure hunt hiding in plain sight. It's a perfect example of why this hobby is so exciting. You never know what you might find. The Kennedy half dollar is more than just a coin, it is a piece of American numismatic history born from tragedy and minted in a nation's grief. Its story is one of swift creation, evolving composition, and a transition from a circulating workhorse to a cherished collectible. The catalyst for the coin was the assassination of President John F. Kennedy on November 22, 1963, in Dallas, Texas. The nation was plunged into deep mourning, and almost immediately, there were calls for a lasting, tangible memorial. Within days of the assassination, Mint Director Eva Adams contacted Chief Engraver of the U.S. Mint, Gilroy Roberts, with a proposal to create a new half-dollar bearing President Kennedy's portrait. The decision to replace the Benjamin Franklin half-dollar, which had only been in production since 1948, was unprecedented in its speed. The choice of the half-dollar denomination was significant. It was seen as a dignified, substantial coin, and it avoided the political difficulty of displacing a current president, Lincoln on the penny, or a founding father, Washington on the quarter, Franklin Roosevelt on the dime. Assistant engraver Frank Gasparo was tasked with the reverse. He, too, had a previous design to use as a base, the presidential seal he had created for the reverse of the 1961 inaugural medal. He adapted the heraldic eagle from the seal and placed a shield across its breast, flanked by 13 arrows and an olive branch. The work was done in absolute secrecy. Roberts and Gasparo worked tirelessly through the holiday season. To maintain secrecy, the models were transported between the Mint in Philadelphia and the Federal Reserve in Washington, D.C., in the trunk of a Mint employee's car. The entire design process, from initial sketches to final approval by President Lyndon B. Johnson and Jacqueline Kennedy, took just a few weeks. The first Kennedy half dollars were officially released to the public on March 24, 1964. The public response was overwhelming. The coin was not seen as mere currency but as a keepsake of a fallen leader. Lines snaked around banks as people waited to get them. This created a severe coin shortage. The public hoarded the new halves en masse, pulling them from circulation almost as fast as the Mint could produce them. In 1964 alone, the Mint struck a staggering 273,304,004 coins at the Philadelphia Mint and 156,205,446 at the Denver Mint. Despite this immense output, few ever saw active commercial use. The 1964 Kennedy half dollar was minted in 90% silver, a continuation of the standard for dimes, quarters, and halves at the time. However, a perfect storm was brewing. 1. The Coinage Act of 1965 * rising silver prices and a nationwide coin shortage, exacerbated by the hoarding of silver coins, led Congress to pass this act, which removed silver from dimes and quarters and reduced the silver content in half dollars. 2. The clad era begins 1965-1970 From 1965 through 1970, Kennedy half dollars were minted in a clad composition, with outer layers of 80% silver and 20% copper bonded to an inner core of 20.9% silver and 79.1% copper. This resulted in a total silver content of 40%. These were minted only for collectors in special mint sets until 1967, and then in proof and uncirculated sets from 1968-1970.1971, present **** in 1971, with silver prices still rising, the U.S. Mint removed silver entirely from the Kennedy half-dollar, except for special collector versions. The circulating coin became the same copper-nickel clad composition used for dimes and quarters, outer layers of 75% copper and 25% nickel bonded to a pure copper core. This change marked the end of the Kennedy half as a substantive piece of silver currency and cemented its fate as a coin primarily for collectors and bank transactions. Since 1971, the Kennedy half-dollar has largely disappeared from everyday commerce. Its size and weight make it inconvenient, and vending machines are not designed to accept it. However, the Mint has continued to produce it in large numbers for two main reasons. 1. Nostalgia and tradition. It remains a popular collector's item. 2. NIFC, not intended for circulation since 2002, the Mint has produced circulating quality halves in much smaller quantities specifically for collectors, sold in rolls and bags. These NFC coins are rarely, if ever, found in bank rolls or general circulation. Bicentennial reverse, 1975 to 1976 **** for the nation's 200th birthday, a special reverse designed by Seth G. Huntington featuring Independence Hall in Philadelphia was issued. All coins from this period are dated 1776 to 1976.90% silver proofs ***. Since 1992, the U.S. Mint has offered proof versions of the Kennedy half-dollar struck in 90% silver for collectors, harkening back to the original 1964 issue.